Hi guys, and welcome to the Cubicle Review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at some random games from the early 90s.
First up, and what made me start writing this episode, is a game called Gun Deck. A game with one of the most amazing openings ever put on ROM.
You play the grizzled detective Hart, and as your first mission, you're told to go hunt down a maniac loose on the highway. And as it turns out,
It's you! You're the maniac, speeding and murdering innocent people.
once you epically gun down the bad guy,
Fucking hell!
you deliver a classic line that's fucking badass.
I can't remember how I ended up with this game cartridge back in the day, but it was a Japanese release that we got on one of the ever popular pirated carts we'd find in stores. I had no idea what the game was about, but the cinematics looked great, with no discernible connection with what was actually going on in the game.
After the first level, which is a racing game, it suddenly becomes a platformer, just adding to the confusion. Clearly that is some cityscape, and guys on their knees? Meth heads? A parrot?
I never knew it, but there's actually a translated American release called Vice Project Doom.
I'm assuming they called it Vice, like the Vice Squad. Hart seems a bit like a jaded PI with a look on his face like he just smelled a fart. His poor partner Sophie immediately taking the blame for said fart. She knows what Hart is capable of. That crazy bastard.
The story doesn't really make much more sense in English, to be honest. For instance, in this cutscene, you're told to travel to South America to track down the bad guys. And then the next level starts, which is some kind of film studio, and only in the next cutscene do you actually arrive in South America. So, what happened in between? What was Hart doing in that film studio?
Well, I must be a very imaginative guy. Nobody in the whole bloody world can have a dream as complete as mine. Right down to the last detail.
There are some great boss fights that end each level that are just hard enough to keep you coming back to try them again. There's also a lot of variety in the look and feel of the different stages that keep things fresh, extra fresh.
Even though at the time, and well still, I have no idea what's going on, the great graphics and sound always keep me coming back for more. The next game, it is an excellent game. I just hate the main premise of it. I mean, it wasn't in Japanese or anything, but it was just strange. It's called Kickmaster.
So you are avenging the death of your brother, who picks a fight with living skeletons in a forest. Every family has one, right? They warn him not to mess with them, and then he dies halfway to them. Probably from dehydration when he pissed himself, realizing what he just did.
And then he tells you to avenge him with your kicks. I mean, clearly this guy isn't the best judge of anything, let alone the ability of your bare feet to defeat living skeletons. Should you really commit yourself to his dying words as he's bleeding out?
It's a really unique looking game, and at the time I'd never seen anything like it. Great sound and just great looking levels with really dark overtones and gritty detailed graphics. You fight crazy enemies like this witch and her mole servants, but it's all marred by the kicking. It's just dumb.
You know how seriously they took this concept? There's a demo of kicks option in the options menu that plays all the kicks in the game that you can do. Ooh, even with a little teaser of the kicks to come, like it's too awesome for your brain to comprehend. How great would this game have been if it was simply called Sword Master?
Or Punch Master?
Or Blunt Object Master?
Fuck.
Monster in My Pocket is not a declaration, but rather another great game from my childhood. It was based on collectible rubber figures of famous monsters, gods and legends from around the world, from the popular, to the obscure, to the debatable.
Me and my friends loved these as a kid, and to be honest, seeing these images online just tingled my nostalgia nuts. I obviously had high hopes for this game, and it did not disappoint. Large, colourful graphics and great music, combined with fun gameplay.
The game takes place in some great locations as well.
And there's always something happening on screen that distracts from the fact that all the levels are pretty linear. There are also always loads of characters on screen who are all recognizable monsters from the toy line. There are some great boss battles as well that are just like the gameplay, simple but fun. Combined with a 2-player mode, this game was everything fans of the toys would want. Although the story is pretty lacking, some dude Warlock interrupts you watching television just to be a dick and says he's going to get you. You don't even know the guy and he sends his henchmen to do it. I mean, what's his endgame? Taking over the world with rubber miniatures? Spoiling your veg by breaking the freezer? Who knows?
Next up, a first and probably the last for the Cubicle review, a sports game. Tecmo's NBA Basketball. I thought we should give this game a mention as it's one of the few sport games I used to play, mostly because it was the only game my brother and I could both enjoy. Well, that's it. There's not a lot to say about it. I mean, there's dunking.
Oh hey, and the 5-second violation. That's what she said? Or things a busy priest would do. No, that's not right either. All the pieces are there, you can just make something up yourself. Super Rescue's Soul Brain, or as its Western release was known, Shatterhand, was another Japanese game where I had no idea what was going on.
It is based on a Power Rangers style live action series that was popular in Japan, so they made an action platformer.
The gimmick being that once you collect a combination of 2 symbols, you summon a little robot helper, who has differing ranged weapons depending on the combinations of symbols you collect. There is a varied selection of possible abilities you can get for your little sidekick. For instance, this ricocheting blade makes you an even match for the first level boss, while this laser's awkward angle makes it pretty useless, although not as bad as this glowy ball thing, which is about as useful as flicking a booger at the wall.
With the localization to the Western market, however, they made a lot of notable changes.
Obviously the licensed characters had to go, so they changed him from an awesome robot to a puffy jacket wearing, well, awesome 90s guy. They gave the sprite some additional animations and a new intro.
Ooh, punch to the face, his only weakness. They also interestingly changed the robot helper to a more anthropomorphic little robot fella, but your powers and abilities stayed the same. Once you finish the first stage, you can select from 5 levels to take on next, which is where one of the most significant changes in the Western port came in, the removal of an entire level. In the US release, this child-friendly carnival level was changed to a creepy alien fetus-infested submarine, which is quite a strange move, since you'd think Nintendo would have censored it to keep their family-friendly image, you know?
Oh, submarine.
Fetus.
Seaman.
Fok, as een van daai kats nie goed genoeg is nie.
why